You know exactly when the coldness starts to set in. There's no ignoring it. The connection that once existed becomes a distant echo. What was once warmth is now ice. The change is not abrupt. It gives warning signs, and you ignore it. He avoids contact, doesn't ask questions, steers conversations away, and you wait for answers, justify the silence, try to understand. The pattern is clear. The cycle repeats itself. You look for signs that everything can go back to the way it was, but the truth is different. There is no mystery. There is a choice. The coldness is a signal, and each one reveals itself. When he disappears amid the hustle and bustle, shows disinterest in the little things and breaks promises that once were sacred, you find yourself trapped in a maze of suppositions. Expectations turn into chains that keep you bound to a state of eternal waiting. But the reality is colder than that. You need to decide whether you will continue in this cycle, whether you will insist on what has already been lost. Standing still is a choice, and coldness does not mean that nothing can change. It means you need to pay attention to the signs. These signs exist. They are clear and cold, and now you need to act. The cost of staying is yours. The signs are explicit, and yet you keep waiting. The mind dances between denial and acceptance, creating a spectacle of illusions. Every time he appears, even if for moments, you cling to the idea that maybe everything can be as it was before. The echo of past promises resonates within the walls of your memory. He distances himself, doesn't respond to messages, ignores your gaze. You seek to understand what changed. It's like trying to decipher a riddle whose solution is hidden beneath layers of coldness. The shared moments now seem like frozen instances in a time that won't return. You revisit the memories, laughing together, secrets whispered in the dead of the night, the feeling of belonging. All of this turned into a mirage, a faded scenario that no longer corresponds to the present. This incessant search for the lost connection becomes a trap. The more you try to recover what once was, the more distant it becomes. And the question pounding your mind is always the same. Why? A question that repeats like a mantra. The need for an answer becomes a burden, a weight. It's as if you are trapped in a cycle of questions that never resolve. Meanwhile, the raw and bare reality remains unchanged. The pattern becomes evident. You live in a broken clock spinning around the same axis. Him appears only when convenient, takes advantage of your vulnerability, turns affection into a commodity. And you yield, wait, dream, but the promises do not come true. What should have been a shelter turns into a prison. Each passing day is a stab, a constant reminder that the decision to move forward is yours. You need to break the chains, but expectations still keep you trapped. The coldness becomes a heavy cloak, an armor you never asked for. In a desperate search for warmth, you forget that true warmth comes from within. Each second drags on and life continues, indifferent to your torment. While you're consumed with doubts, the world turns full of possibilities that are beyond your reach. Look around. Opportunities do not wait, but you are still focused on what does not exist, nurturing the illusion. This space between you two is not an abyss. It is a choice, and if you stay, the cost will be high. You pay an emotional price that is not just yours, but also his. You drift away and at the same time come closer to the precipice. The risk of getting lost in this void grows each day. The mask of hope you wear starts to weigh heavily. The truth is, you knew from the beginning. The coldness is not ingratitude, it is a lack of interest. And that lack of interest turns into apathy. When apathy reigns, nothing can be moved. Because there is no effort where there is no desire. The feeling of being ignored hurts more than any word, and you start to realize that the absence of action is a form of violence. Every unanswered message is a punch, every silence, a wound. But with each blow you have the option to react, to awaken to the reality that love should not be a struggle. It should not be a battlefield. Relating is about sharing, not waiting for crumbs. The truth is clear and cold. You are not being valued. The decisions are yours. Leaving behind is scary, but continuing this way is suffocating. The bond only persists because you cling to an idea, not a reality, and the chains you build are made of fantasies. Each moment you resist the urge to break free is a lost day, a day when potential fades. What do you do now? The future is not defined by what was, but by what you choose to be, and deciding means acting. The heart may scream, but reason must guide. Accepting that what remains is not enough is the first step to freedom. Love should not be a burden. Reality has already been presented. The cost of staying is yours. Choose wisely. And in this cycle of disillusionment, you start to realize the true cost of silence. Every moment in which you wait for a response accumulates like an unsustainable weight on your back. You feel it, don't you? Each day, each unanswered message, frustration grows. It's a muffled scream that echoes in your mind. Meanwhile, he appears on social media, interacts with other people, shares smiles. And you wonder why it is so easy for him. The brightness that once attracted you is now a beacon that illuminates your absence. You revisit interactions, analyze every word and gesture, searching for clues to explain the inexplicable. But all paths lead to the same destination: coldness. You begin to understand that this game is not just about lost love, but about power. He holds the cards while you are on the defensive, trying to decipher a scenario he himself created. This dynamic becomes a daily battle, a constant effort to keep hope alive amid indifference. Little things start to bother you more. The details that once went unnoticed are now sharp knives. The way he talks, the lack of attention at crucial moments, and the indifference that permeates everything. You try to rationalize, looking for reasons for the apathy. But the truth is harsh. The coldness is a conscious choice by him, not a consequence of chance. And you, on the other hand, find yourself trapped in a web of assumptions and idealizations. You keep alive the idea that somehow this can change. The illusion that turning back is still possible slowly consumes you. When you reflect on what is really happening, you realize the irony. You are waiting for someone who clearly does not prioritize you. The cycle gains a new angle when you finally allow the pain to come in. You allow the recognition of your own value to begin to infiltrate. Frustration turns into clarity. Everything built around the idea of us is noise that covers the truth. And in that clarity, a new question arises. Why do you still believe? Why do you still cling to a shattered dream? The answer is not simple. It lies in the layers of expectations you have cultivated. Every happy memory is an anchor keeping you tied to this vicious cycle. As you navigate these emotional waves, you realize that life does not stop. The hours pass, and the world keeps turning. What do you do in the meantime? Where do you place yourself in this narrative? The emptiness intensifies. The realization that something is wrong becomes undeniable. And the choice to break out of this cycle becomes clearer. Love should not be a board game where you have to play just so you don't lose. It should not be a dance where you constantly adjust your steps to please. However, you find yourself in this rhythm, molding yourself to his coldness, hoping that warmth will re-emerge. The truth is that this warmth doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. And this realization can be painful. It's necessary to deconstruct the idea that love must be a constant struggle. Accepting that you deserve more than to be a question mark in someone else's life is a crucial step. Love should not be a burden. As the days unfold, you begin to realize that the hope you held onto is not just a blessing but a curse. You hope for changes that may never come. What was once a desire transforms into a trap. The comfort of the familiar becomes an enemy, and the search for connection becomes loneliness itself. While he lives his life, you find yourself in the shadow of your own existence. The emotional cost becomes an unbearable burden, and you realize that choosing to stay in this cycle translates to relinquishing your happiness. Each passing day is a reminder that you are in control. No one else will make this choice for you. The decisive moment approaches. You need to confront reality. The price of continuing to wait is high. You have the right to seek something that brings real satisfaction. It's time to break free from what was and build new paths. Become the version of yourself that does not settle for crumbs. Coldness does not define who you are, but how you decide to react. Love should not be a source of suffering. And if the absence of warmth has become a pattern, perhaps it's time to ignite the flame back into your life. You deserve more. The future awaits. And what you do now will determine everything. The bond persists because you feed the illusion. But every breath you take takes you further away, colder. Your next step could be the beginning of a new cycle or the end of this emotional maze. What will you choose? Reality has been presented. Now you need to act. The weight of the coldness becomes such a burden that you can barely breathe. And while this is happening, life outside that cycle goes on without stopping. The people around you live their stories, and you feel like a spectator in your own life. Every smile from others causes a sting, a reminder of what you've set aside. You watch couples walking, laughing, sharing simple moments. A coffee here, a warm look there. The normalcy of love seems to be a distant world. And in this contrast, loneliness intensifies. His absence is not just a void, it is an echo that reverberates through the walls of your being. You try to fill this void with the idea that what was can return, but hope becomes a prison. Looking at the faces that pass by, you ask yourself, why can't it be this way for me? And then the cruelest doubt arises. Are you destined to live this story? A story of a love that turned into a game where the rules changed, but you're still trapped in the old ones. What once made sense is now just a shadow of a broken dream. The nights get longer. The silence becomes deafening. You find yourself surrounded by walls that seem to close in more and more. Each unanswered message turns into a knife, slowly cutting away any trace of hope. You wonder if there's a struggle within you, a battle between what you desire and the harsh reality you recognize. And in this emotional whirlwind, memories begin to mix with the pain. Happy moments become ghosts that won't let you forget. The laughter that once filled your heart now echoes in a somber tone. Each memory is a reminder of what could have been, but never materialized. The distance that has formed between you is a chasm that you don't know if you can cross. The truth is, the more you cling to these memories, the harder it becomes to see the present. Love should be light, not a burden weighing on your shoulders. At the same time, you still find yourself searching for reasons to stay. The internal dialogue turns into a war. One side insists on hope, while the other screams for liberation. In this conflict, you realize there is something deeper at play. It's not just about him or what he represents. It's about you, your choices, your ability to respect yourself. His coldness is a reflection of what you allowed. Each day lost is your choice not to act. And then, the question persists. What really matters to you? Maybe it's time to deconstruct this narrative. Look inside and realize that waiting is not synonymous with love. Allowing the pain to penetrate can be frightening, but also liberating. It's a recognition that you deserve more than to wait for a return that may never happen. Relationships that enrich life are not based on uncertainties. They are built on pillars of mutual respect, a desire to be present, and the daily choice to commit. You begin to realize that love should be a shelter, not a battlefield. And as you reflect, something begins to change inside you. Beneath the sadness, there is a spark of strength that slowly emerges. You recognize that this coldness cannot define your worth. The warmth you seek must come from within yourself. What happens when you decide to stop seeking in others what should be inside you? When the light you hoped he would ignite in your life turns into a fire that you yourself feed. This change in perspective is powerful. When you finally break free from this cycle of waiting, the world around you changes. Colors become more vibrant. You allow yourself to feel life again. Every step you take towards breaking that bond is an affirmation that you are alive and have endless possibilities ahead of you. The waves of discouragement do not disappear instantly, but the inner strength that now blossoms surpasses doubt. The warmth you find within yourself becomes your armor. You begin to realize that you do not need his validation to be complete. Loneliness takes on a different dimension. It transforms into a space of self-discovery. Looking in the mirror and seeing someone who chooses not to be defined by empty relationships is an act of resistance. And this resistance becomes the fuel you didn't know you had. Each day becomes a step further away from that seemingly endless cycle. Your choices move you forward, and by making those choices, you not only break the chains, but create new forms of connection. Now, you understand that love should flow naturally, not be an exhausting struggle. Opportunities are everywhere. Open yourself up to the new, to relationships that surprise and offer genuine care. What matters now is that you have decided to leave the stage where coldness reigned. And this choice, this action, is the true beginning of a new narrative. Every breath you take becomes a manifesto of your autonomy. No longer waiting for the light, you are the flame. And when you refuse to accept less than you deserve, a bright future unfolds before you. The bond persists only if you allow it, but the reality has already been presented. Now you need to act.